Hi, hello, welcome back to another video in sorting methods. We already done a video explaining how the sort or the bubble sort work and explained that, and we're written it in the language C. You're going to find all the links in the description and also the link of the video that I explained that in it. Now we're going to say the selection sort, how it works. First of all, let me open this. Here I'm going to explain how this sorting method works. And then we're going to jump also and apply it to the C language encoder. First of all, let's imagine that I have a list of cards that contains, for instance, 4 numbers. I'll go with number 4, just 4 numbers. I'll go with number 4 and number 2 and number 3 and number 1. As you see here, these numbers is not sorted. It just arranged in a different setup. And I'm going now to explain how this selection sort works to get these items, so these numbers, sorted from the smaller one to the greater, or in the reverse one. First of all, you have to know in this sorting method, we need a pointer to catch the first number here. Remember that this red dot is meant the pointer, and this one, green one, is mean the increment for each iteration. So this is incrementation for the inner loop, not the out loop, because the red one is who do the out loop, but the green one does the inner loop. Alright, now after putting these two like this, we need to check out if the 4 is greater than the 2, or in other way, we're checking the green one, it is smaller than the red one. If it's so, we need to select their places and swap them up. So how it's going to work? We're going to see that the 4, that the 2 selected with the 4 and swap their places like this 4, and the others is going to stay the same, not going to change anything like this. But remember that the pointer is not going to remove from the first item until we have done with the entire iteration. Again, when we loop to here, or when we swap these two, the green dot is going to increment to the second number in this list. So it's going to go to the 3. Again, it's going to compare the 2 with the 3. Remember, here we are selecting these two, so we're going to compare them. If the 3 smaller than the 2, or the green dot is smaller than the red dot, we need to change their places. Now as you see here, the green one is greater than the red, or 3 greater than the 2. We're not going to do anything, so the list is going to stand as it is. So 2, 4, 3 and 1. Again, the pointer is going to be here, and the green dot is going to jump to the 1. In this case, as you see here, that I'm selected the 2, or the first item in the list, with the last one. And in this case, you see that green dot is smaller than the red dot, like 1 smaller than the 2. So in this case, we need to change their places, select them both and change them, just both of them. In this case, it's going to be 1, 4, 3 and 2, like this. Then in this case, after ending with the first iteration, we're going to increment the first pointer to the second part, like here. And in this part, we've done with it. Not this in the left, we are completing the sort of it. So in this case, we're going to increment the pointer to the second number in a list, and then we're going to compare it to the one that follows it. So in this case, we're going to find that the green is smaller than the red. So let me here jump and do each one in a column or in a row. Alright, here let me separate them with this line, and I'm going to jump 1, again 4, just copy this to the top here, and 2. Again, remember that the one or the items on the left are sorted from at this point, so the pointer is going to be here, and the G or another element or another value that's going to catch these 3. After comparing these two, we're going to have 1 in its place, and the 3 and the 4 is going to are going to change between each other. So it's going to be 3 and 4, and then 2. And remember, the pointer always be at the same place, and then we're going to increment it again, the green one. So the green, and then compare these two, and the result is going to be like this: 1 and 2 and 4 and 3. Now the green one have no place to go or to increment. So up to now we've done with these two items, we sort them, these two first numbers we've done with the sorting of them. Now we have these two. Again, the pointer is going to increase, and we're going to, this value here of the green is going to be here. Again, we're going to find that after comparing these two elements, we're going to find that the green one is smaller than the red. Then it's going to swap them or change their places. So 1 is going to be its place, 2, and then here, as I said, the 3, and then the 4. But remember that we said the pointer is going to be equal. For instance, let's say that the red one is the I, and it is equal to the length minus 1, and this means it's going to equal the length of the 3 elements in here. And imagine with me the green, it is another value called G. Okay, and the G, it's equal to the length. Why? Because we need the G to reach the last number, but the I, we don't need it to reach the last number. And I also name it the pointer if you want that, because we're going to give it that value to catch the place in every single iteration. Up to now, I think everything is clear. What I'm going to do now is jump into the coding and code this sorting method or selection sort. Now, after ending with explaining the algorithm, we're going to apply all what we said in the C language, and you could apply it in any language you want. They are not different. The same steps that we're going to follow here, you're going to follow in the entire languages that exist out there. So first of all, in the C language, we have to include some libraries. So let's include the standard input and output library.h, and then we're going to run the function main. And inside of here, we're going to define some variables. We're going to start with integer, I, and G, that's going to carry the loop, and also a temporary value, and the pointer. Inside of here, we're going to create a list of items. Let's go with the same example that we gave: 4, 2, 3, and 1. And of course, the list is an integer. And again, we're going to define the length of this array, and it is 4 numbers. And then we're going to start our selection sort. Okay. Now we're going to follow the same steps. We're going to go with the 4, the out loop that's going to set the pointer and all of that. We're going to set it equal to 0. Then the I should be smaller than the length minus 1, and also we're going to increment the I to loop. Here we're going to give the pointer the value of I in each iteration just to cut that value as we explained. And then here we're going to go with another inner loop, and it is that if you remember the green dots, the G is the green dot, so it's going to have AI plus 1, and again the G have to be smaller than the length, and we're going to increment it again. Here we're going to put our statements. So if the list in G is smaller than the items that the pointer got, so pointer, what we need to do, we need to set the pointer, or the pointer is going to take the value of G if it's smaller, if it's greater than the G. So the G, if the G is smaller than the pointer, we need to exchange their values. So that's why we return the G into the value of pointer. Then, or otherwise there, if the pointer is not equal to the I, all we need to do, we need to swap them. How are we going to swap the element of I to the G? Using the temporary value, and set it like this, and list of I, the temporary value is going to catch the values of I, and the values of I is going to set it equal to G, the values of G, and then the values of G is going to return the temporary value that we set it equal to the list, so temporary value. And now the G takes the values of the I's, or the value of I. Up to now, I think we are good. What I'm going to do now is just to print this on our terminal. To print it, I'll go with a for loop again, and here the size of the I, and it is the count, it is the length. Then here we're going to print F, and then I'll go with list and set it equal to D, and put a line here, or a new line. So it's going to be I, a list of I. I think now everything okay. But this print function, I'm going to set it in a function. I'm sorry, this print here, I'm going to set it in a function. So what I'm going to do is just cut it like this, and I'll say, for instance, here print, and this function is going to have two things, list and length. And here let us print the line, and we'll let return 0. Return 0. So I'm going to define a function called void, and let's set it to print like this. And also this function has list and integer of length. Then we're going to pass that inside of here. But remember, we have to define the I, so I'm going to go with integer I, and let me define this function at the top. I'll go here and define it in here, exactly like this. Now what I'm going to do, before printing our results, I'm going to print this list that we entered. We're going to print the list that we entered, then we're going to print the result of it. So all I had to do is just copy this and go at the top here and pass it like this. Let me print the n after the here, like this, exactly like this. Now all we have to do is just to give it a shot. I'll run it and see what is going to happen. Run, and here we are. So this is the list that we entered, 4, 2, and 3, and 1, and this is the result of the list. We could just type it here, like say in here print, for instance, printf the unsorted list and sorted list, like this, like give it a in to jump to the new line. And again the same, this one here I'm going to copy it and go before here and paste and say sorted list. Let's see. As you see here, the unsorted list that we entered, and this is the sorted list. I think up to now everything is clear. Thanks for watching and stay tuned.